Hey everyone.
Hey guys,
I'm
it's Caden. Welcome to another Autism Digest interview, where today we have an extremely unique guest. He's a musician and a rapper. He's been in the music industry for decades, has a son on the spectrum, and in 2023 wrote the Grammy-nominated album Visions of Sound, which is a sensory-friendly album, which will definitely touch on what makes music sensory-friendly in that aspect. He is Chris Redden. Thanks for coming on, Chris.
hey everyone. Thanks for having me on. I'm super excited about this. This is
I'm
cool.
excited too. I think a lot of people might recognize you. You have over 100K followers on Instagram and Grammy nominated musicians get their lives changed when they receive such nominations. But for those that may not know the name, Chris Redden, do you mind summarizing your story in your own words?
Sure. Chris Redding. I'm just a guy, that is neurodivergent, that makes music, and I have a son on the spectrum who loves music, and so we use music to communicate and bond together. So that's a little bit about who I am and my story.
And it's definitely an amazing and unique one. My next question for you is, what was it first like when you found out your son was on the spectrum?
Like I guess like any other parent, you kind of worry about what the future would look like. Um, but once, my son, he started just showing such an interest in wanting to communicate with us, and it just sparked my interest as a parent and attention to want to find ways to communicate, to bond together. And with my son being nonverbal, and it was just kind of, we focused on the things that came natural, and that was music. We would get in the car and he would, start rocking his head and jamming out to the music. And we're like, wow, like he really loves music. And so I started playing jazz for him. And then I brought him into the studio and just let him start hearing the music and the sounds and playing on the piano. And from there, it just his love for the whole creative process just sort of grew, and it just turned into a form of just communication for us, but also just time to bond and understand each other.
Yeah, that's definitely amazing. I was diagnosed at two. My parents got me the help I needed. They're still extremely supportive of me now. I'm 21 now in college, and just like your son and
Wow.
yourself, I've had a love of music for the longest time since I was 11 years old, living in Tennessee. I'm in Ohio now. So I can definitely relate to some aspects of your son's story. My next question for you is, what resources have you used to get your son the support he needed to thrive in life? For example, what resources did the school system provide for you?
Yeah, so it was a journey. From step one, as with any parent would say, autism is something, and receiving that first diagnosis is, something that you don't just come into knowing everything. You have to build community. You have to do your research, and you have to learn. And that process for us was, it was challenging at first, but the comfort in finding community and other people that are going through similar situations and sharing your story helps. So that's one of the reasons why, I wanted to do a project like Visions of Sounds, was to just share our story and make a connection with other parents and people that were out there that may be, going through the same thing. And as far as resources goes, I would say resources can be very limited, in certain areas. If you're not, if you don't have that sense of community, or if you don't, take the time to learn more about your child and what their specific needs are. But for us, it was just kind of like, okay, how do we identify what these resources are, and not only that, but share with others to help steer them in the right direction. So my wife and I started an organization called the St. Ellis Foundation, which helps to provide families with resources and sort of make them readily available for parents experiencing challenges with autism.
I definitely like what you said about resources being limited unless you know your child. That's definitely true. That same can be said for adult resources. I'm 21
Yes.
now. When I was 18, the transition from public school to adulthood and college was definitely tough for me. You could argue that it's tough for a lot of individuals, neurodivergent
Oh
or
yeah.
not. But for me specifically, I was used to having a system in my corner, or various still, well, but it was on me to find those resources and continue learning about autism and who I am as a person. So I definitely like
Absolutely.
what you said about learning about yourself. My next question for you is, what makes an album sensory friendly in your opinion? We've mentioned your album Visions of Sound, and as I told you before we went live, the project is extremely unique to me. So, what makes an album sensory friendly, in your opinion?
Well, there's a few things that can make an album sensory friendly. One of the things is, and we kind of touch on in Visions and Sounds, and also in my new album, The Colors in My Mind, is the frequencies of the music. So a lot of frequencies that I use in my music are 432 and 528, which are known as the love frequencies and the miracle frequencies. And these are classified under what you call solfeggio frequencies, which can, bring about healing. So I'm actually going through a sort of a therapy session right now with a really cool program. It's called SSP, which is called Safe and Sound Protocol. And we actually have a gland in our ears that when we hear certain sounds, certain words and tones, it translates to us, is this something to uh, it or triggers us, to our response. So is this something that we should be afraid of? Is this something that we should, worry about? Is this something that I should feel calm or relaxed? And the frequencies in the music actually help to shape that tune and that sound of what we hear and how we process it. So just like my son Christian, he's sensory. He has the sensory processing disorder, but he's sensory seeking. So he likes to feel and to touch and to hug and to listen. He wants more and more input. So what my music does is it sort of gives him that sense of calmness. It also gives him that sense of being safe and feeling empowered. And so that's what sensory friendly music means to me.
Yep, that's definitely a good way to summarize it. On, hold on, my stepmom's on me.
Sure.
All right, sorry about Patsy said. Never
Oh, no
mind.
worries.
Yes, he's definitely been extremely supportive of me. So if you're watching this, shout out to you Liam. My next question for you is how do you think your experiences as a father to an autistic individual shaped your music and your creative process? You touched on that a bit earlier. I really like what you said about how some autistic individuals can be sensory seeking and some autistic individuals can be sensory not seeking.
Yeah.
Do you mind expanding on that a bit and explaining how being a father to a neurodivergent individual shaped your creative process?
Sure, I think that's a phenomenal question. So, for one thing, to give you a short answer, I would say it's helped me to understand myself. So, I'm neurodivergent as well. As I mentioned before, I actually have ADHD, and I also have something called synesthesia, which is when I hear music and I process the music and sounds, I actually process it in visuals, colors, and pictures and things like that. And it's definitely a sensory issue for me as well. But I think that that is where me and my son connect, and it gives us somewhere in that realm a way to see the music together and um, to respond together and communicate to each other. Um, as far as like with autism, I one of the things after producing this album, I've got tons of people to reach out to me, family, friends, and say, hey, I'm dealing with something similar with a child on the spectrum. Can you give me advice? And the first thing I say is that every experience is different. Christian's experience, my experience is not going to be the same as yours. You may be sensory, non-seeking, or you may be sensory seeking. You may be verbal. You may be nonverbal. All of these different things, they can look different for the individual. But what I try to convey in my message is a message of love and understanding and acceptance. We need to take the time to understand what that person's needs are, and how to properly support them and give them the affection and the attention and the love that they deserve. And for Christian, it has definitely been the journey of that, of using music as a tool to mobilize that. For myself, being ADHD, I am definitely sensory seeking. I love affection. I love communication. I love all of those things. Well, although Christian may not be big on communication, we definitely meet in the middle with, wanting that to show affection, and especially through the music. It is a spiritual and emotional experience for us. And I think that it's a model for anyone that may be looking to make that connection with their child or with their loved one that is on the spectrum. And yeah, it's a an opportunity to step into their world and to get a little bit more understanding about how they feel and what makes them so unique.
That's a really good answer. I absolutely agree with you. With anything, really, when having autistic or neurodivergent child, it's all about stepping into their world and understanding things from their perspective. There's going to be people who want to give them advice, and you should absolutely take it if you're an autistic or neurodivergent adult navigating adulthood, or a parent navigating the first steps of having a child diagnosed as on the spectrum ADHD neurodivergent. But you also shouldn't take unsolicited advice. You should trust your instincts and have a close circle around you. So I definitely like what you said about that. My next question for you is, what's your advice to anyone, neurodivergent or not, that wants to make it in the music industry?
Oh, I would say just trust your instinct, right? Trust your gut feeling. When I got the idea or the download, I would say, to create this album, an album to connect with my son, who's nonverbal, autistic, sensory seeking, right? And to build a connection with him in this unique way, it was something that did not come without fear, without hesitation. It was so many things running through my mind of why it wouldn't work and why it would be, um, something that I'm not ready to talk about or to share with the world. But I had to overcome that fear, and I had to sort of take myself out of the picture and understand the bigger picture here, and really see this as the opportunity to connect with people around the world and to share a story that may help someone to see things differently and to view autism differently. In my house, we see it as something that is empowering, something that is, you know, it's not necessarily a barrier or a roadblock, but it is a challenge. But it's a challenge for us to go deeper in our communication, to go deeper in our understanding for one another. And that helps to prepare us for people in the world, experiences in the world, how we communicate in the world is not just people on the spectrum. But what I would say specifically to someone looking to pursue that career in music is to be authentic, be yourself. Don't be afraid. Don't listen to all of the reasons why not, but embrace all of the reasons why you should, and know that you're doing this and go into this with intention, with positive intention, and the outcome will be amazing.
Exactly. That's a really amazing answer. With anything, just keep working at it, and the outcome will be amazing.
Yep,
One thing I'm
for
doing
sure.
currently is looking for potential positions for after college, and I've definitely gotten a lot of no's in the application process, but I really just need one yes. And I
Yep,
especially like how you said that you don't see autism as a bad thing, just as a challenge. My family sees it as the same way, from the same perspective. It's
absolutely.
absolutely not a bad thing at all. I just have challenges with social perceptiveness that need a little bit of help. So that's definitely a
Yeah,
beautiful answer. My last question for you is what does the future hold for you? I know you have an album coming out. Did you want to talk about that a little bit?
sure. Yeah. So I definitely, one second. So yeah, I definitely have some exciting things happening in the future. I'm getting ready to release my fourth studio album. It's called The Colors in My Mind, and Visions of Sounds was more so about my perspective with my son. It was about his perspective, actually. It was about how he viewed the world. And The Colors of My Mind is slightly different. It's more from my point of view, and it shows basically my experience as a neurodivergent adult and things that we experience being neurodivergent, processing our emotions, uh, processing experiences in a relationship, in love, and what those things are and what and how they feel. Also, it talks about the world in a unique way, right? My perception of the world, and a neurodivergent perspective of the world, and how things are constantly changing and we have to adapt. But then again, things are still remaining the same. And so all of those things are just my perspective and, my testament and story as a neurodivergent adult and what it means to me. But there's also a song on the album called You're Enough, and it is a tribute to my son, Christian, and just letting him know that no matter what, in this world, or no matter what people say, or no matter what experience you may face, just know that you are enough, and that's good enough, So that's important that we share those affirmations, and we let our loved ones know that you are enough, and you can apply that to almost anything. I tell people all the time, I don't just make music for the neurodivergent community, but I make music for everyone, and those who are neurodivergent are certainly represented, and are certainly seen in my music, because I feel like so long that people that are neurodivergent and the challenges they face, they go unseen. So this is an opportunity to take a dive into that world and really see things from those perspectives.
Oh, that's definitely an amazing concept. We'll be sure to look out for it. Anyway, that's going to do for this interview, guys. Thank you so much to Chris for coming on and sharing his story and his unique concepts. If you guys want to see more amazing interviews, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to the Autism Digest channel. Check out our August issue that's out now by going to autismdigest.com, and stay tuned for the audio file to be posted on our Spotify account. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.
Peace.